The rain didn't fall that night, it sliced. Thin silver blades against my skin, cold enough to numb, sharp enough to make me remember I was still alive. The Hale mansion glowed in the distance, a fortress of glass and power, the kind of place Omegas like me were never meant to stand before, especially not with trembling hands on our stomachs and a heart breaking under our ribs. I told myself to turn back. To keep my pride. But pride meant nothing when you were carrying the child of the man you loved. Evan Hale. The alpha who smelled like cedarwood in winter rain. The one whose touch used to steady my pulse and drive me wild all at once. The man who had looked at me like I was his entire world, until the night his world told him I wasn't good enough for it. My umbrella slipped from my hand as the mansion doors opened. The butler's eyes widened slightly when he saw me, but I didn't wait for permission. I pushed past him, water pooling around my shoes, and followed the familiar scent that still haunted me even after 3 weeks apart. Evan's office was upstairs. The door was half open, golden light spilling into the hallway. I paused there, soaked and shaking, and whispered to myself, "Please, just listen." When I stepped in, he looked up. The sight of him nearly undid me. He was standing by the window, jacket off, white shirt rolled at the sleeves, tie loose at his throat. His hair, dark and perfect as ever, was slightly damp, like he'd just come in from the rain too. The scent of him hit me instantly, cold, clean dominance, edged with something sharp that made my knees weak. For a moment, I saw the man who used to pull me into his arms and kiss me like he owned the stars. Then his expression hardened. "Leanne," he said flatly. "Why are you here?" His voice wasn't the same. It was clipped, distant. The way he said my name made me flinch. "I needed to see you," I managed. My throat was tight, my words trembling. "You've been avoiding me, and Evan, I need to tell you something. It's important." He crossed the room slowly, the sound of his steps echoing off the marble. The closer he got, the stronger his scent became, alpha command rolling through the air, making the Omega in me want to submit, to curl, to beg. I fought it. "Whatever it is," he said coolly, "it can wait." "No," I whispered. "It can't." He sighed, the sound weary, like he was tired of me already. "Then say it." My fingers pressed against my abdomen unconsciously. I saw his eyes flick there, confusion crossing his face for just a second before I spoke. "I'm pregnant," I said. The silence that followed could have drowned me. He didn't move. Didn't breathe. For a heartbeat, I almost believed he'd pull me close like before, whisper mine against my skin. But instead, his scent changed. It sharpened. Turned sour. Dominant, suffocating. "What did you just say?" "You heard me." My voice cracked. "It's yours. I found out a week after." He laughed then. A short, bitter sound that twisted something inside me. "You think I'll fall for that?" he asked, stepping closer until his scent surrounded me completely. "You think saying that will make me take you back?" "Evan, no. I'm not." His eyes were ice. "You think I'll claim an Omega who trapped me with a pregnancy?" The words hit harder than the rain ever could. My chest constricted. My scent, usually soft and floral, faltered, breaking apart under the weight of his rejection. "It's not like that," I said desperately. I didn't even know until." "Enough," he snapped. His alpha command flared, making me stumble back a step. "You were a mistake, Leanne. A distraction. Don't make this uglier than it already is." "A mistake?" My voice trembled. "Evan, you said you loved me." He looked away, jaw tight. "That was before I realized what you wanted." My knees felt weak. What I wanted? Money. Status. A way into my family. His tone was venomous. "I see it now. You played the innocent Omega well, but my parents were right. You were after the Hale name." I couldn't breathe. "That's not true." He turned back toward his desk, cold and distant. "Leave before I make you." The bond between us, the invisible thread that tied Omega to Alpha, snapped inside me. I felt it physically, a searing burn through my chest, a hollow ache that left me gasping. My scent faltered completely, dissolving into the damp air. For a long moment, I just stood there. I wanted to scream. To shake him. To beg him to remember the nights we spent tangled together, the promises he'd whispered against my neck. But I knew it wouldn't matter. His scent was close to me now. His heart was gone. I turned toward the door. My hands trembled so badly that I nearly slipped on the wet floor. "Evan," I whispered once more, not even sure why. Maybe I just wanted to hear his voice again. But he didn't look up. Outside, the rain hadn't stopped. The world blurred as I walked down the mansion steps, each drop mixing with the tears I didn't want to shed. I pressed a hand over my stomach, over the tiny life growing inside me, and whispered to it softly. "It's okay," I murmured. "We'll be okay. Even if he doesn't want us." I didn't look back. I couldn't. The following months blurred into survival. I sold what little I had, left the city, and found a small coastal town that smelled of salt and quiet. My body ached, my heat cycles were unstable, and the bond burn took weeks to heal. But every time I felt the baby kick, I held on a little longer. There were nights I woke up choking on memories, the sound of his laugh, the warmth of his scent, the way he'd once traced circles on my wrist just to calm me down. I told myself I hated him. That I'd never forgive him. But hate was too heavy to carry. What I felt was something worse. Longing. Even after everything, I still longed for him. I gave birth on a stormy night. No family. No Alpha. Just me, a kind beta midwife, and the sound of thunder rolling outside the window. The pain was unbearable, but I didn't cry until I heard my baby's first wail. When they placed him in my arms, small and warm and real, my heart cracked open completely. He had a tuft of dark hair. His scent was faint but unmistakable, Alpha. Evans. I pressed my lips to his forehead and whispered, "You're my reason to live now." The next morning, I named him Noah. I didn't know if Evan ever thought of me again. Maybe he went on with his perfect life, attending charity galas and taking over his father's company. Maybe he even found another Omega, someone from his world, someone suitable. But every night, when I tucked Noah in, I'd catch a hint of that familiar cedar scent from his hair and wonder if fate was cruel or kind. Because even when you try to bury a bond, some things don't die, they just lie beneath the skin, waiting. Waiting to burn again. The mornings in Silver Bay were always soft. The kind of quiet that smelled like sea salt and damp petals, nothing like the city's noise that used to drown my thoughts. 3 years had passed since the night Evan's words had cut through me, and I'd learned to live inside that quiet. I opened my little flower shop at dawn, sweeping the floor while Noah sat behind the counter, humming to himself as he drew on old receipts with a stubby crayon. He was 3 now, bright eyes, messy dark hair, laughter that could shatter any silence. He had Evan's eyes, though I never said that out loud. "Papa, can we go to the pier after you close?" he asked, looking up with his wide grin. I smiled despite the ache that name always carried. "Of course. But you'll have to finish your nap first." He nodded seriously, as though making a promise to the world. My heart squeezed at how much of him belonged to someone who'd never know. Sometimes, in the quiet moments, I could still feel the bond echo faintly, like a scar that never healed right. Evan's scent would drift through my dreams, sharp cedar and winter air. I'd wake up gasping, hand on my chest, reminding myself he was gone. The bell over the door chimed. I didn't look up at first. Tourists often stopped by for flowers on their way to the beach. I wiped my hands on my apron and said, "Good morning. I'll be right with you." Then I turned, and every breath left my body. Evan stood in the doorway. The world tilted. For a heartbeat, I thought I was dreaming again, some cruel trick of longing. He looked the same yet different, older, harder around the edges, the tailored suit clinging to a frame that seemed even broader than I remembered. His eyes, storm gray and unreadable, locked on me like he couldn't believe I was real. Lien. His voice broke the silence. Just my name, and suddenly the air was too heavy to breathe. My fingers tightened around the damp cloth. What are you doing here? I had a meeting nearby, he said, though the lie trembled in his tone. His gaze swept over the shop, the flowers, the faded sign that read Petal NC. I didn't expect to find you. My pulse pounded in my ears. Then you can leave just as easily. His eyes darkened. The scent of cedar drifted closer, curling through the air like smoke, triggering every buried instinct my body had tried to forget. I turned away, gripping the counter until my knuckles went white. I tried to find you, he said quietly. After that night. But you disappeared. A bitter laugh slipped from my throat. Why would I stay after being told I was a mistake? He flinched. Lien, I don't. My voice cracked. You don't get to say my name like it still means something. Behind me, Noah's small voice cut through the tension. Mama? Evan's head snapped toward him. Noah toddled out from behind the counter, holding a tiny paper boat. Look, Mama, I made this, he chirped, beaming proudly. For a moment, everything froze. Evan's gaze dropped to the boy, the dark hair, the faint silver in his eyes that mirrored his own. I felt the blood drain from my face. Who is he? Evan's voice was barely a whisper. My throat closed. He's my son. The room went silent except for the faint crash of waves outside. Evan took a step closer, his scent tightening around us like a noose. Lien, he said slowly, how old is he? Don't. How old? I swallowed hard. 3. I saw the calculation flicker in his eyes, saw the moment he realized what that meant. His hand trembled at his side. He's mine. No, I whispered, shaking my head even as tears blurred my vision. He's mine. Lien. Don't say it. The words ripped from my throat. You rejected us. You told me to leave. You said I trapped you, remember? His face twisted in anguish. I was lied to. My parents told me you. I shook my head violently. Stop. I don't want your excuses. I built a life without you. He doesn't need to know what kind of alpha his father was. Noah tugged at my apron, sensing the storm in my voice. I forced myself to smile down at him. Sweetheart, why don't you go play in the back for a moment? He nodded, clutching his paper boat as he ran off, unaware of the weight in the air he left behind. When I looked back at Evan, his eyes were glistening. You should have told me, he said hoarsely. You should have let me. You should have believed me, I snapped. That night, I begged you to listen. But you turned your back. His jaw tightened. I was wrong. I know that now. The scent between us shifted again, painful, magnetic. My body betrayed me, every Omega instinct screaming to close the distance, to breathe him in. I hated it. I hated how even after everything, his nearness still felt like home. He took another step. Lien, please. I backed up until my shoulders hit the cold glass of the shop window. The faint tremor in his voice pulled at something inside me I'd tried to bury. You don't get to walk back in after 3 years and claim what you threw away. He stopped, a breath away. Then tell me to leave, he whispered. Look me in the eye and tell me you feel nothing. I couldn't. The words stuck somewhere between my heart and throat. He saw it, the hesitation, the betrayal of my scent, and something raw flickered in his gaze. His hand lifted slightly, like he wanted to touch me but didn't dare. I whispered, don't. He dropped his hand, closing his eyes. He's my son, isn't he? The silence that followed was my answer. His breath hitched, and when he looked at me again, there was a storm behind his eyes. I'm not walking away this time. Fear and longing collided in my chest. You don't get to decide that. I turned, rushing past him toward the back door, heart hammering. He called my name once, twice, but I didn't stop. My hand closed around Noah's small one as I pushed the door open. Outside, the wind carried the scent of the sea and rain, the same mixture that had followed me the night I left him. "Leanne!" Evan's voice echoed from behind. I didn't look back. I just held my son tighter and whispered, "We're not ready for him, not yet." The door slammed shut between us, and the sound felt like an ending and a beginning all at once. Inside, I knew he'd stand there, surrounded by flowers and ghosts, realizing the truth he'd destroyed with his own hands. The morning after Evan showed up, I woke to silence. For a moment, I thought I had dreamed it all, the way his scent filled the shop, the tremor in his voice when he said Noah's name. But then I stepped outside, and there he was. Leaning against the black sedan parked across the street, sleeves rolled up, watching the shop. Evan Hale never did settle. I froze in the doorway, coffee cup in hand, pulse hammering. He didn't speak at first, he just looked at me, eyes unreadable, like he was trying to memorize every inch of me all over again. "You shouldn't be here," I said quietly. He tilted his head. And yet, here I am. I shut the door, trying to focus on arranging roses for a delivery. But the air was heavy. His scent seeped through the cracks, cedar and storm, rich and intoxicating. The scent that had once marked me as his, that still lived under my skin like an old scar refusing to fade. He came every day after that. Sometimes he'd sit quietly on the bench outside while Noah played with the flower petals. Sometimes he'd come in to fix things that didn't need fixing. The door hinge. The old ceiling fan. Even the tiny wooden step Noah liked to climb. I told him to stop. I told him to leave. But he didn't. He wasn't the same man I'd seen that night 3 years ago, the cold, controlled alpha who spat venom when fear and pride got the best of him. This Evan was quieter. He looked tired. Guilty. And one afternoon, when I finally snapped and demanded why he wouldn't leave me alone, he told me. "My family lied to me," he said. His voice cracked, rough like gravel. "After you left, I went to find you. They said you'd miscarried. That you left with another alpha. That there was nothing left for me to chase." I froze mid-step, bouquet trembling in my hand. "I didn't know," he whispered. "If I had known, I would have burned the world to find you." My chest constricted. "You believed them," I said quietly. "You believed I could do that." He looked broken then, really broken. "Because I thought I'd already broken you first." I didn't know what to say. The anger I'd held for 3 years flickered and faded beneath something heavier, grief, longing, the ache of what could have been. That evening, I found him sitting on the shop floor beside Noah, helping him stack blocks into a crooked tower. He smiled faintly when I entered. "I used to be terrible at these," he said softly. "Still am." Noah giggled, clapping his small hands. "You're funny." I stood in the doorway, watching the two of them. My heart ached so badly it was hard to breathe. I wanted to scream, to tell him to leave, to stop making Noah laugh like that. But instead, I whispered, "It's time to go home, baby." Evan looked up. "Can I walk you both home?" I hesitated. "You don't have to." "I want to." We walked in silence. The streetlights blurred through the misty evening, and every step beside him felt like stepping into an old dream, one I'd long tried to forget. When we reached the gate, he stopped. "Leanne," he said, voice barely above a whisper. "Let me make this right." "You can't," I said. "Some things break too deep." But the look in his eyes, the same one from years ago when he first kissed me behind the conservatory, made something inside me waver. That night, I couldn't sleep. My body felt off, too warm, too tense. My skin prickled, and the faint hum beneath my navel burned. It couldn't be. It had been years since my heats had caught me off guard, but as the hours passed, I knew. It was coming. The scent of roses from the shop clung to my clothes, but beneath it, my own pheromones were spiking, sweet, desperate, wrong. I stumbled into the bathroom, turning the lock. Cold water splashed against my face, but it didn't help. My reflection stared back, flushed cheeks, trembling hands, pupils blown wide. I pressed a towel to my mouth, trying to muffle the tiny sounds escaping me. No, no, no. And then a knock. Lien? My breath caught. Go away, Evan. My voice cracked. Are you okay? I heard something. Don't touch the door. But the lock clicked open. I must have been too shaky to turn it right. He stood in the doorway, eyes widening at the sight of me, sweat damp, trembling, scent thick in the air. Lien, his voice was barely human. Don't, I gasped, backing up. Don't touch me. I don't need your pity. It's not pity. His voice dropped low, rough and trembling. It's everything I've held back for 3 years. The space between us pulsed like a heartbeat. I could smell his scent crashing into mine, dominant cedar colliding with the sweetness of Omega heat. My instincts screamed to run and to reach for him at the same time. He took one step forward, then another. You think I don't remember? He whispered. The way your scent used to fill every corner of me? My back hit the wall. His breath ghosted over my ear, his hand braced beside my head but not touching me. I wanted to push him away. I wanted him to stay. Evan. Tell me to stop, he said, voice shaking. Tell me, and I will. But I couldn't. My body betrayed me. The bond mark that had long faded burned under my skin, lighting up every nerve. He didn't kiss me, not at first. He just stood there, forehead pressed to mine, breathing like the world might end if he let go. And then the dam broke. The room blurred into scent and heat and broken sounds. His hands were careful, reverent, trembling like he was touching something sacred and forbidden. I could taste salt, tears, maybe his, maybe mine. The bond, though severed, flared like a dying star fighting to live again. Somewhere in the middle of it all, I whispered, why now? Because I finally see what I destroyed, he breathed. And I can't let you go again. His words cut through the haze. I pushed him back, chest heaving. You don't get to say that, I choked out. You don't get to claim me now. Not after rejecting me when I needed you most. He froze, pain flashing across his face. Lien. No, I said. You had your chance. And you destroyed it. The heat was still burning through me, but I turned away, clutching the counter for balance. He hesitated, then stepped back, giving me space, guilt clouding his features. I'll wait, he said softly. For however long it takes. I didn't answer. When dawn broke, the fever finally began to fade. I found him asleep outside the bathroom door, head resting against the wall, as if he'd stayed there all night to make sure I was safe. Something inside me cracked again. I knelt, brushing a hand over his hair without thinking. He stirred, eyes half open. Go home, Evan, I whispered. Before I start forgiving you. He caught my wrist gently, eyes searching mine. Maybe that's all I've been waiting for. I pulled away and walked toward the bedroom, my voice breaking as I said, don't wait for what you already broke. Behind me, I heard the soft exhale of defeat, the sound of an alpha who had everything once, and lost it all by his own hand. The bond might not have died, but maybe it should have. Because every time I looked at him, I remembered the night he'd told me to leave. And no matter how much my heart betrayed me, I wasn't ready to let him back in. Not yet. I thought Evan would give up after that night. He didn't. The next morning, he was outside again, hands in his pockets, eyes on the shop as if guarding a fragile piece of his past. The headlines had already started to spread, Evan Hale breaks from Hale Enterprises, heir to Son's inheritance. He really did it. When he came in, he looked exhausted. It's done, he said quietly. They're not my family anymore. They lied about you, about Noah. I won't let them touch either of you again. I kept trimming the stems of the tulips on the counter, pretending his words didn't twist something inside me. You think cutting them off fixes everything? No, he answered. But it's a start. His scent was calmer now, less of the storm, more of the quiet after. I hated that it still made me feel safe. I wanted to stay angry, to keep the walls I'd built high and sharp. Noah ran in from the back room, clutching his sketchbook. "Look, Papa. Mr. Evan drew a flower for me yesterday." I froze. "You saw him again?" Evan crouched beside Noah, a faint smile softening his features. "He came by while you were resting. I helped him color the petals." "Without asking me first?" I said. His expression faltered. "I didn't want to upset you. You just what, Evan?" My voice cracked. "You think showing up every day and fixing shelves will erase what happened?" Noah's eyes widened. I forced myself to calm down, exhaling slowly. "Go water the daisies, sweetheart." He nodded, scurrying away. When the door to the greenhouse clicked shut, I turned back to Evan. "You can't walk back into our lives like nothing happened. I raised that boy alone. I carried him through the worst pain of my life while you were sitting in your family's mansion believing whatever they told you." Evan didn't flinch. "And I'll spend the rest of my life making it right." "Stop saying that." I slammed the scissors onto the counter. "You don't get to decide what makes it right. You don't get to make vows after rejecting me when I needed you most." He looked at me like the words physically hit him. "You're right." The simplicity of it threw me off balance. He didn't argue. He didn't defend himself. He just looked broken and quiet. That silence was worse than shouting. He left soon after, but his absence didn't last long. 2 days later, the doorbell rang late in the evening. I opened it to find him standing there with a thin folder in his hand. His knuckles were white. "Leanne, the authorities came to my office," he said. "Someone filed a report, an Omega raising a child without a registered paternal record." The blood drained from my face. "What?" He handed me the document. The government seal glared at me like a threat. "Child custody review, verification required." "They can't take him," I whispered. "They can't." "They won't," he said firmly. "I'll make sure of it." "How?" He took a breath. "By doing what I should have done 3 years ago. We get married. Again. Legally. That way Noah's record is protected, and no one can question your rights." I stared at him, disbelief turning slowly into fury. "You think marriage fixes everything?" "It fixes the law," he said. "It keeps our son safe." "Our son?" The words cut out of me like glass. "You didn't even want him when he was just a heartbeat inside me. Don't come to me now because you need to fix your guilt." His jaw tightened, but his eyes stayed soft. "This isn't about guilt. It's about family." "Then you should have chosen family back then." He didn't argue. He just nodded once, quietly. "If you change your mind, the offer stands." Not for me, for Noah. When he left, the house felt colder than usual. That night, I sat beside Noah's bed as he slept, his small hand curled around my finger. The world outside was merciless, and he was too gentle for it. My heart clenched at the thought of anyone taking him away. I tried not to cry, but the tears came anyway, silent and hot, slipping down my face as I brushed his hair back. The door creaked softly. I didn't have to look up to know who it was. His scent, muted cedar, faint rain, filled the air before his footsteps did. "I told you to leave," I whispered. "I couldn't." I felt the mattress dip slightly as he knelt beside me. He didn't speak again, he didn't try to touch me. He just waited, eyes on Noah's peaceful face. When his hand finally brushed over mine, it was light, barely there, trembling. I didn't pull away. "I'll wait," he murmured, voice rough with exhaustion and something deeper. "As long as it takes." The quiet stretched between us, full of things neither of us could say. I turned my hand over until my fingers brushed his. "Don't make promises you can't keep." "I already broke every one that mattered," he said softly. "I'm done breaking you, too." We stayed like that until Noah shifted in his sleep, sighing softly. Evan stood then, hesitating at the door. Before he left, He looked back once, and in his eyes was everything, the regret, the longing, the ache of a bond that refused to die. When the door clicked shut, I pressed my forehead against Noah's and whispered, half to him, half to myself, don't let me believe him again. But deep down, I already knew belief was creeping back in. Because no matter how much I hated Evan Hale, a part of me still waited for the day the anger would stop being louder than the love. Rain again. It always seemed to find me whenever life decided to crumble. Only this time, I wasn't standing outside the Hale mansion begging for love. I was standing in front of my own home, my small toy shop and apartment, while men in black suits tried to take away the only thing that still made my heart beat. Noah. My son. Our son. He was crying inside the house, calling my name through sobs that tore through my chest like claws. The social authority officers stood firm, holding documents stamped with Hale seals. It wasn't just bureaucracy, it was a power play. Someone in Evan's family wanted my child gone. I told you to leave him out of this. I shouted, voice cracking. He's just a child. Sir, one officer said, keeping his tone clipped, you're an unregistered Omega with no paternal acknowledgement on file. The boy's safety. My son's safety is me, I cut in, stepping closer until I could smell the sharp scent of their dominant nerves. Don't you dare. Then a familiar voice thundered behind them. Touch him, and you'll deal with me. Evan. He stepped into the rain like it parted for him, his coat clinging to his shoulders, his eyes wild with fury. The alpha mask he once wore for society was gone, this was raw, feral protection. Every cell in my body reacted before my mind did. My sense spiked, my pulse raced. Even after everything, my instincts still reached for him. The officers faltered. Mr. Hale. Don't Mr. Hale me, Evan growled. You came to threaten my Omega and my son? Who sent you? My heart skipped. My Omega. The words echoed between us like a vow neither of us could take back. One of them shifted uneasily. We were only following directives. From who? Evan's tone dropped to lethal calm. My father? My mother? The silence that followed said enough. Evan exhaled sharply, shoulders tight with rage. Get out before I call my lawyer and have you all blacklisted from service. They didn't need more convincing. The men exchanged looks, muttered apologies, and left quickly under the weight of his authority. As the car drove off, the air felt lighter, except between us. The silence stretched, thick and trembling. Evan turned to me, his expression softening. Are you okay? I wanted to tell him no. That my heart was a knot of fear and relief and anger, all tangled until I couldn't breathe. Instead, I looked away and whispered, you shouldn't have come. You think I'd stay away while they tried to take my son? He shot back, stepping closer. Leanne, I told you, I won't let them hurt you again. I clenched my fists. And what then? You'll play the hero for a while, until your family calls you home? I don't have a home without you, he said quietly. My breath caught. For a moment, I saw the man I'd fallen for years ago, the one who used to sneak out of his penthouse just to hold me under city lights. But that man had also been the one who'd looked me in the eye and said, leave before I make you. Stop, I whispered. Don't say things you can't mean. I mean every word, he said, and his voice broke. I thought you were gone, Leanne. I thought they told me you left, that you'd... He stopped, jaw tightening as if the truth still burned his tongue. I wanted to hate him. I really did. But the trembling in his voice, the way his scent shifted, sharp cedar softening into warmth, made my resolve tremble. Then Noah came running out. Papa. He wrapped himself around Evan's leg, looking up with tearful eyes. They tried to take me. Evan crouched immediately, pulling him close. No one's taking you, champ, he said, voice low and trembling. I promise. I'm here now. I froze at the sight. Evan's arms around Noah, his thumb brushing the boy's hair, the way Noah clung to him without fear, it was everything I'd dreamed of during those lonely nights. And everything I feared losing again. When we finally went inside, the air was heavy with unspoken words. I busied myself cleaning the mess, papers scattered, a broken toy on the floor, while Evan followed silently behind. He paused near Noah's room, watching him curl up on the couch, clutching a stuffed bear. "He looks like you," Evan murmured softly. "Same stubborn pout." "Don't romanticize it," I said, trying to sound cold. "He gets that from surviving me, not from you." Evan sighed. "You really think I'd let my father take him?" I turned sharply. "You did let them take me once." He flinched. "Good. Let him feel it." "I was stupid," he said, stepping closer. "Naive. I believed them because I didn't think they'd lie about something so cruel. But I swear, Lien, I'm not that man anymore." I wanted to believe him. But trust wasn't a switch I could flip. It had been broken, piece by piece, until I'd learned to survive without it. "Go home, Evan." "This is my home," he said, voice rough. "Where you and Noah are, that's it." The air between us charged. His scent filled the room again, strong, grounding, maddening. I hated how much I still responded to it. My body betrayed me, every nerve alive with memory. I tried to step away, but he caught my wrist gently, his thumb tracing the pulse there. "Please," he whispered. "Don't shut me out. Don't make me remember what it felt like to believe you," I whispered back. Then we heard glass shatter. Noah screamed. We both bolted toward the living room. The window had been smashed, a warning rock lying on the floor with a note tied around it. "Stay quiet, Omega. You don't belong in the Hale bloodline." Evan's eyes darkened with fury. "They're not just trying to scare you," he said. "They're threatening you." My pulse raced. "We have to leave." "No," he said firmly. "We fight." I looked up at him, at the alpha who once broke me, now standing like a shield between danger and the family he once denied. The ache in my chest deepened. "Evan." "I'll handle it," he said, already dialing someone on his phone. "Security, cameras, safe house. They won't touch either of you again." Noah clung to my leg, sobbing quietly. I knelt and kissed his forehead. "It's okay, baby. We're safe." But even as I said it, I wasn't sure if I believed it. Hours later, when Noah finally fell asleep, I found Evan sitting on the porch, rain soaking his shirt, eyes distant. I joined him, the silence stretching between us again. "You didn't have to do this," I said softly. "Yes, I did," he replied. "Because for once, I want to be the man who stands beside you, not the one who walks away." I turned to look at him. The rain glistened on his lashes. His scent mixed with mine, faint, hesitant, but real. And something inside me cracked open, just a little. "Evan," I whispered. He looked at me like the world itself paused for my next word. "I don't know if I can forgive you. But I know I don't want to lose you again." He smiled faintly, pained but sincere. "Then don't." The distance between us vanished. His hand came up, brushing away a raindrop, or maybe a tear. Our lips were so close that I could feel his breath tremble against mine. Then headlights flashed across the yard. A car stopped. A man stepped out, dressed in black, holding something metallic in his hand. Evan moved first, pulling me behind him. His voice dropped low, alpha deep. "Get Noah. Now." I didn't think. I ran inside, heart pounding, scooping Noah from the couch as the front door rattled from impact. Gunfire shattered the quiet. Noah screamed into my chest. Outside, Evan roared, that primal sound of an alpha in full protective rage. The kind that shook walls. I pressed Noah close, tears streaming down my face, whispering, it's okay, though nothing about this was okay. Minutes felt like hours until everything went silent. Then, the door creaked open. Evan stumbled in, bleeding from his arm but alive. He met my eyes and smiled weakly. Told you, he murmured, voice rough. No one touches my family. I didn't think. I dropped to my knees and held him tight, shaking. "You idiot," I whispered into his neck. "You could have died." He laughed softly, breathless. "Worth it." Outside, sirens wailed in the distance. Inside, I clung to the man I hated for breaking me and loved for saving us. And for the first time in years, I let myself hope maybe the bond that once destroyed us could save us too. The world smelled like smoke, blood, and fear. Even hours after the attack, I could still taste it in the air, metallic, bitter, clinging to my tongue like a nightmare that refused to fade. The paramedics had come and gone. The police had taken statements I barely remembered giving. And through it all, Evan hadn't left my side once. Not even when his arm was stitched. He just sat there on the couch beside me, one hand cradling Noah's small head as our son slept between us. For the first time, Noah's steady breathing was the only thing anchoring me. But Evan's voice, low, rough, and quiet, kept tearing me apart. "They weren't random attackers," he said. "My father sent them." I looked up sharply. "You're sure?" His jaw clenched. The way they moved, the weapons, Hale security grade. "My father wanted to scare you into handing Noah over. Maybe worse." My stomach twisted. "He tried to kill us?" Evan didn't answer immediately. His silence was enough. I exhaled shakily and looked down at Noah. He was only 3, still small enough to fit perfectly in my arms. I'd spent years protecting him from gossip, from the weight of the Hale name, from the truth of the alpha who'd fathered him. But now that alpha was back, and bleeding for us. I whispered, "You could have died." "I'd do it again," Evan said simply. 1,000 times. That quiet certainty, it scared me more than any gunfire. I stood and turned away before my heart could betray me. "Don't say things like that. You think they mean something, but they don't fix what's broken." He rose too, his voice firm. "You think I don't know that? You think I don't see what I did to you every time you flinch from me?" The words hit harder than I wanted them to. I'd spent years pretending I'd moved on, that I'd buried the bond, that I could smell his scent and feel nothing. But when he spoke like that, when his voice cracked with remorse, the ache came rushing back. "I loved you once," I said quietly. "You made me believe I mattered, and then my throat closed. You shattered me." "I know," he whispered, stepping closer. "And I've hated myself for it every day since." Something in his voice, raw, desperate, made the bond between us pulse faintly. The invisible thread I thought I'd severed burned faintly in my chest. I hated that it still existed. Hated that he could still make me feel. I turned to leave, but his hand caught mine. Warm. Trembling. "Leanne," he said softly. "Let me fix this. Let me protect both of you properly. Move in with me, somewhere safe." I pulled free. "I don't need saving." "It's not about saving you," he said. "It's about keeping you alive." The word alive made something in me snap. "You think you're the only one who's been fighting to stay alive?" I hissed. "When you walked away, I was already pregnant. Do you have any idea what that's like for an Omega alone? I starved myself some nights just so he could eat. I hid every time my scent spiked, terrified someone would find out. I gave birth alone. Tears spilled before I could stop them. So don't talk to me about keeping us alive. I've done that on my own since the day you left." Evan's face crumpled. For a moment, I saw pure pain, not pride, not arrogance, just a man haunted by what he'd done. He whispered, "I didn't know." "I swear I didn't know." "Then maybe you should have tried harder to find out," I shot back. The silence that followed was unbearable. Noah stirred softly on the couch, his small hand reaching for mine even in sleep. That simple touch grounded me again. Reminded me what mattered. Evan exhaled shakily. "I'm sorry." I swallowed. "Sorry doesn't undo anything." "No," he agreed quietly. "But maybe it can start something new." I looked at him then, really looked. His shirt was torn where the bandages peeked through. His eyes were bloodshot, his hair damp from sweat and rain. He looked nothing like the arrogant heir who'd once rejected me. He looked human. And that was dangerous. Before I could respond, his phone buzzed. He checked the screen, his expression darkened. "It's them again," he said. "My father wants a meeting." I scoffed. "After sending killers to our door?" "Which is exactly why I'm going," he replied, grabbing his coat. Panic shot through me. "Evan, no." He turned, eyes meeting mine. "If I don't stop him now, he'll keep coming for you and Noah. I won't let that happen." "Then let me come with you." "Absolutely not." I stepped closer, voice trembling. "You can't walk into that house alone." He cupped my cheek, his thumb brushing a tear I hadn't realized fell. "I'm not the same man I was back then, Lian. I'm done obeying him. I'll end this." The warmth of his hand lingered long after he left. Hours passed. Every sound outside made my pulse spike. I paced the living room until Noah woke, rubbing his eyes sleepily. "Where's Papa?" "He's working," I said softly. "Will he come back?" I smiled weakly. "He promised, didn't he?" Noah nodded and hugged his bear. "I like Papa." Those 3 words twisted my chest. I sat beside him and whispered, "Yeah. Me too, sometimes." But the waiting was torture. When my phone finally buzzed, I nearly dropped it. The message wasn't from Evan, it was from an unknown number. "If you want to see him again, come alone." My heart froze. Attached was a live photo, Evan, on his knees, bloodied, inside what looked like the Hale estate basement. My instincts roared. My vision blurred as my sense spiked in fear and fury. They'd taken him. Again. And this time, I wasn't going to be the one running. The Hale mansion loomed like a ghost of my past, all polished stone and cold perfection. I slipped in through the servant gate, the same one I'd once used when sneaking in for secret nights with Evan. The irony wasn't lost on me. The guards were easy enough to avoid. I followed the faint echo of voices until I found the door to the old wine cellar. Inside, the scene made my stomach turn. Evan was chained to a chair, his father, Robert Hale, standing over him with a cane and a glass of scotch. "You could have had everything," the older alpha said. "Instead, you threw it away for an Omega and a bastard child." Evan spat blood. "That Omega is worth more than you'll ever be." Robert's eyes flashed. "You're still young enough to forget him. We'll erase them both, quietly." That was all I needed to hear. "Over my dead body," I said, stepping out of the shadows. Both men froze. Evan's head snapped up, eyes wide. "Lian, what the hell are you doing here?" Robert sneered. "So the stray Omega dares return." "Stray?" I hissed, walking closer. "You call me that, but your son begged to mark me. You just couldn't stand that an Omega refused to bow." His face twisted in rage. "You insolent." He raised his cane to strike, but Evan surged forward with a growl, chains rattling. That distraction was enough. I grabbed the iron poker from the wall and swung hard. The cane shattered. Robert stumbled back, shock written across his face. Evan used the moment to break the chain from the loose bolt, roaring as he lunged forward. He grabbed his father's collar, voice shaking. "Touch him again, and I swear, I'll destroy everything you built." Robert laughed bitterly. "You'd throw away the Hale legacy for this Omega?" Evan turned to me, eyes burning. "I already did." My breath hitched. Even in chaos, even covered in blood, he looked beautiful. Honest. Mine. He took my hand, gripping it tight. "Let's go home." We ran, down the hallways that had once witnessed our love and our ruin. The alarms blared behind us, but I didn't care. For the first time in years, I wasn't running away. I was running with him. Outside, rain poured again, cold and heavy, washing away everything we'd left behind. When we finally reached the car, I turned to him, my hands still shaking. You could have died. Evan smiled faintly. You came for me. I swallowed hard. Don't make me regret it. He leaned closer, voice trembling with emotion. Never again, Lien. Whatever it costs, I'll protect you both. Even if it kills me. The bond pulsed again, stronger this time, wild and alive. And as the mansion burned behind us, I realized the truth. We weren't running anymore. We were fighting, together. A year. That's how long it took for the world to stop feeling like a battlefield. For the sound of rain to mean peace again instead of endings. A year since Evan walked back into my life, and for once, didn't leave. I watched him from the shop window that morning, sunlight spilling over the street as he jogged beside Noah, holding the back of the boy's tiny bicycle seat. Noah wobbled, laughed, then steadied himself, his little legs pedaling faster. Evan didn't let go right away, he never did, but when he finally did, his expression was pure joy. His son was free. So was he. I smiled softly, pressing a hand against the glass. I hadn't realized how much time had changed him. The arrogant heir who once hid behind his family's name now wore scuffed jeans and grease on his hands from fixing bikes. The man who once rejected me now spent his weekends repairing toys and painting Noah's room. He kept every promise. Every single one. The doorbell chimed as they came in. Noah raced to me, cheeks flushed, shouting, "Papa! I did it! I didn't fall!" I knelt, pulling him close. I saw, sweetheart. You were amazing. Evan lingered near the door, wiping sweat from his brow with a grin. You should have seen him, Lien. He's faster than I was at that age. You were born in a mansion, I teased. Your bike probably had a butler. He laughed, that low, genuine sound that still made my chest ache. True. But I'd trade every bit of it for this. For us. I turned away before my heart showed too much. But Evan was patient. He always was now. He didn't push, didn't try to claim me, didn't use his alpha scent to sway me. He just stayed, gentle, constant, steady. And somehow, that scared me more than anything. That night, after Noah fell asleep, I found Evan on the porch, sitting beneath the warm glow of the old hanging light. The air smelled faintly of pine and soap, his scent, calm and grounding. Can't sleep? He asked without turning. I shook my head and sat beside him. You? He smiled faintly. Not when you're awake. The words were soft, but they hit deep. For a while, neither of us spoke. The night hummed around us, crickets, distant thunder, the rhythm of a world finally learning to be kind again. And then, without planning to, I whispered, I'm pregnant. The words slipped out like a confession I'd carried too long. My heart pounded so hard I could barely breathe. Evan went still. Slowly, he turned to me, eyes wide. For a heartbeat, fear flashed there, not for himself, but for me. Then it melted into something I hadn't seen in years. Awe. He moved closer, his voice trembling. Say it again. I'm pregnant, I whispered. I found out this morning. He stared at me as if I'd just handed him the world. Then he dropped to his knees before I could stop him, his hands trembling as he reached for me. He didn't touch at first, just hovered, eyes glistening, breath unsteady. When he finally did, his palms pressed gently against my stomach, reverent, fragile. Then his forehead followed. You don't have to run anymore, he whispered. I'll protect you, even from myself. My vision blurred. I hadn't expected to cry, but his words tore right through me. He wasn't promising power or control, he was promising surrender. The kind of love that didn't cage, only held. Tears slipped down my cheeks. I cupped his face, tracing the line of his jaw, the soft stubble against my fingers. I waited so long for you to say that, I whispered. He looked up at me then, eyes wet, lips trembling like he was fighting to keep control. But when I leaned down and kissed him, he broke. It wasn't gentle, not at first. It was years of pain and longing and every unsaid word finally catching fire. His hands slid up my sides, careful but desperate, as if memorizing that I was real. My fingers tangled in his hair, pulling him closer. When we broke apart, our breaths mingled in the cool night air. "Tell me to stop," he whispered against my lips. "Don't," I breathed. The porch light flickered, casting gold across his face as he lifted me gently into his arms. Inside, the house was quiet except for our uneven breaths and the sound of rain starting again outside. He set me down on the bed and just looked at me for a moment, no dominance, no demand, only love. Then his hands traced the curve of my neck, down to where my pulse raced. Every touch was slow, deliberate, asking permission even when words weren't spoken. My scent filled the room, warm, sweet, heavy, and I felt his alpha stir in response, but he held it back, trembling with restraint. "You smell like home," he whispered. "Then don't leave again," I said. He kissed me, softer this time, as if worshipping rather than claiming. My body remembered him, every inch, every rhythm. But this wasn't the frantic passion of our youth. This was something deeper. A promise written in skin. When he finally moved inside me, I gasped, not from pain, but from the shock of how right it felt. His scent wrapped around mine, not forcing a bond, but answering one that had never truly died. We moved together slowly, breaths sinking, hearts racing. He murmured my name like a prayer, over and over, until the world blurred around us. And when it ended, he stayed, arms around me, forehead pressed to mine, both of us shaking. "I'm never letting go again," he whispered. I smiled faintly, my voice barely a breath. "Then hold me until the rain stops." He did. When morning came, sunlight spilled across the room, golden and soft. I woke to find him still there, one hand resting over my stomach protectively, the faintest smile on his lips. Noah burst in moments later, climbing onto the bed, squealing with laughter as Evan pulled him into his arms. I watched them, the two pieces of my heart, and realized something quietly beautiful. The bond we tried to destroy hadn't died. It had simply waited for the right time to bloom again. As the three of us sat there, tangled in blankets, sunlight, and laughter, Evan looked at me with eyes full of quiet devotion. "You were always my forever, Lien," he said softly. "I just had to grow into the man who deserved you." I reached out, brushing a stray lock of hair from his forehead. "You did." He caught my hand, pressed a kiss into my palm, then lowered his head against my stomach again, whispering to the tiny life growing there. "You'll never know what it feels like to be unwanted," he said softly. "Not while I'm breathing." And for the first time in forever, I believed him. Because this time, he didn't promise with words. He proved it every day, in every quiet, unspoken way that mattered. The rain had stopped. The world smelled like morning. And for the first time in years, I wasn't afraid of what came next. I was home.
If you enjoyed this steamy ride of love, power, and desire, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to my channel for more hot BL stories that will leave your heart racing. Turn on notifications so you never miss the next episode.